All right, you guys. So Crimson Desert has been out for what, a week, 2 weeks at this point? No, no, it's been a week. Damn, time has flew by. Um, but I've been playing a lot of Crimson Desert, just trying to really find out what what this game is, where the fun in this game is. I think initial like reaction was very interesting. I think it was very telling as far as like moving forward, how I wanna I guess, react to content made on games, I guess. Certain content creators that I felt like were a little disingenuous on both sides. I think there was definitely people that were hype beasting the hell out of this game and trying to act like the game has no problems. And there was other people who were trying to act like this is the worst game ever and it's like completely uncontrollable. So typically with stuff like that, I kind of just put blinders on, play the game for what it is, and then try to find out again what the vision is, where the fun in this game is, and that's gonna be this video. In this video, one, I'm gonna be definitely defending this game. Um, Crimson Desert, pretty much since I've been playing it, I was pretty hooked. Like I felt like this is a game that is doing a lot of things, yes. And I think most of those things it does well. And I think when you kind of combined everything together, there's definitely a lot to love about this game. With all that being said, I'm not an idiot. This game is messy. This is a very, very messy game. I think there's a lot of flavors added to this. I think there's a lot of things that people will not like about this, things that people will not vibe with this. With that being said, this is kind of being treated almost like a live service game, it seems, where Pearl Abyss, the developers, are updating this game constantly. So I think anybody's like reviews, anyone's content on this, anyone's how is it, now, whatever, it's going to be outdated pretty quickly. So just kind of keep that in mind that some of my thoughts came prior to them recently updating it, and they updated it. So then I again continue playing it. So I think everyone's experience with this game so far is pretty different because of the fact that the game has been updated, quite a bit from launch. And who knows how much longer this game will keep being updated. But again, it looks like Pearl Abyss is very adamant on keeping this game, fresh, reacting to the players, etc. So one, we love that. So again, as much as these are my thoughts today, who knows later on where my thoughts lie. All that out of the way, let's get into just in general, let's get to the gist of what this game is. So I think this is the first like miscommunication that I think a lot of um, outlets, content creators, etc. are messing up, and they keep calling this game an open world RPG. They liken it to games like The Witcher, Skyrim, even, and it's not really that. I think the game's RPG elements are very slim, and I don't even think it's really an RPG in that aspect. I think in the end of the game, this is an adventure game. This is a large open world adventure game. It's a very big sandbox for you to play in. I would consider this closer to like GTA 5 and like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's combining a lot of those games together to create kind of its own flavor on what it thinks it wants to do. I do think there is a lot of like narrative points that are a little confusing, a lot of controlling points that are very confusing, very jarring for a lot of people. Um, click on L3 to crouch is a choice. I think at first when you play the game, definitely I see why you want to sprint with L3, right? That's just we've been doing this for a long time. So why would we change things? Why do we need to change things? But I think when you look at what the overall game is, your first 5 hours might be a little awkward, but if you find something you like, the next 60 hours the controls will start to make sense as far as why it's placed the way it's placed. And again, even like now, like I'm like what 12 hours into the game, and again, for me, I'm gonna be honest, the controls are pretty seamless at this point. At this point, I mean, I didn't struggle too heavy with it. I think like platforming parts were a little strange. Weird that they even have platforming in certain sections. Yeah, some of the puzzles were very obscure as far as like them not really telling you what to do. With all that being said, like I grew up playing NES games. I remember Ocarina of Time trying to figure out like where things were in that game. And I think that's kind of part of part of the enjoyment of a lot of those old school games. And again, for a lot of people who say, "Oh, we need, we don't need yellow tape, or we don't need to be, sorry, not yellow tape. We don't need yellow paint. We don't need to be handheld as gamers. We got this." I felt like Crimson Desert was very telling that no, you guys do not got this. Like, no, most players struggle to figure out what to do in certain sections. There's a puzzle that a lot of people are posting online that they could not figure out, and it's one of those type of things where it's like, whoa, like, how are you guys struggling with, you know, with these things? And again, I'm not here to judge nobody. Everyone is who they are. People are who they are. There are certain parts in this game that I struggle with. With that being said, like, if you're not a if you're not a fan of, again, the way that a lot of this stuff is structured, it's very telling as to why a lot of mainstream games are so handholdy. Reason why Ubisoft wants to tell you exactly where to go next is because they don't want you to get lost, get confused, get irritated. Like, yes, there is data that a lot of these developers get that showcase that people are very confused oftentimes. And again, I'm no, like, there's times where I don't realize that you have to do certain things in this game that throw me off. The chimney part, I didn't realize you have to stand on a chimney to clean it. I thought I could have cleaned it from the thing. Whatever. Again, egg on my face. There's another section where you're supposed to untie and free this guy, and I had my sword out, and I couldn't untie him. The prompt to untie him wouldn't come up because I had my sword out, and it took me a little bit of like, how am I not untying him? Why can't I untie him? And then once I realized, oh, okay, I got to put away my sword, then untie him. Like, yeah, there's definitely a lot of friction with a lot of these moments, and I think, again, if you're a gamer who doesn't like friction, you want your game super buttery smooth, yeah, that's gonna be a huge hard pass on you guys. A lot of what this game is doing too is it's kind of allowing you to customize your experience very freely on how you want to do it, as far as like how you want to engage with combat, what you want to do with your mission, because you can mainline it. And I suggest, if you are playing the game, definitely mainline it for a bit. Probably like chapter 3, chapter 4 is when you kind of want to let loose and go side questing, go figure out other stuff. With all that being said, again, like, um I kind of did jump around between side questing, just walking around and exploring this world, and a lot of what this game has to offer is just, it's random fun. It is very much, again, you don't know what's around the next corner. You don't know what to do. I had a bounty, and I didn't read the bounty properly. So apparently, you're supposed to apprehend the guy. I did not apprehend him. I killed him, and now I'm at this point where, all right, I killed him. The note said to apprehend him. What do I do now? I see the dead body, and every time I walk by the dead body's there, and it's telling me to apprehend him still. So I don't know how to go about that. The game hasn't told me so far how to go about that. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna spend any more time really trying to figure out. Later on, I'll probably look it up, or maybe the game tells me somewhere later on down the road. But ultimately, that's not, again. I don't think this game is meant for you to be hung up on every little thing you don't understand. I think if you don't understand a certain point, you can kind of just gloss over and keep moving. Um, if you struggle with kind of like figuring out how to find fun in this game, I think the best way is just to kind of forget what you've learned from other games, forget what you think you want this game to be, and just play it for what it is. And then from there, you'll have enjoyment. I remember, like, going into this game, I thought it was gonna be close to like a Witcher 3 style game, but pretty quickly when I saw how, like, outlandishly cartoonish a lot of the animations are, a lot of the combat sections, a lot of the way the characters engage with each other, I realized pretty quickly, like, this is not a game to be taken seriously. And I think for a lot of people that are like, "Oh, there's no narrative driving force," or there's like, no, none of that is what this game is for. This game is just pure fun. You know, there's a lot of sections where you're trying to rebuild your town, but then you run into um, somebody who needs help with this mechanic, and a lot of the game will teach you the mechanics based off of random side quests. And there was one mechanic that where I'd already cooked a lot at this point because I played Breath of the Wild. I knew how to cook at this point. There's one lady that I glossed over in the beginning where she needs you to help cooking something, and the game is teaching you how to cook. I'm like, okay, no, I already know how to do this, So it is kind of awkward that the game is placed like that. But again, I think a lot of that allows for huge, player freedom. Um, As far as like the combat is concerned, it's very messy. It is very cool though, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of ways you can go about combating enemies. I don't think any of the enemies are hard. It is a lot of like hordes though at certain moments. So in order to kind of navigate the hordes, you definitely have to like kind of figure out where all of them are at and navigate the battlefield kind of awkwardly. With that being said, it's nothing like a Souls game, so none of the combat mechanics are smooth as butter. A lot of them are very wonky. A lot of them are very janky. Um, Again, very similar to if you're fighting somebody in like a Grand Theft Auto game, and you got to kind of move around a lot. You got to kind of duck and cover a lot. You kind of have to play around with your environment a lot in order to engage in combat. I like the fact that you can learn new skills by either adding things to the skill tree, or you can like watch somebody and then you see their skill and then you learn a skill by watching somebody do something. Again, that is super cool. That is a very unique mechanic that makes this game very different in my opinion. The move set is very funny. You can go from RKOing people, you can go to like kicking people, drop kicking people. It is weird where like if you uh if you like hold X a little bit, it'll do like a pump kick where he like does two kicks in the air. If you hold X even longer, then you end up doing a drop kick. So again, a lot of the buttons are mapped to the same thing. It kind of just depends on either the combination that you do it. It also could depends on like how long you hold a button for. So again, I think that's where a lot of people also get confused about like, oh, I wanted to do this, but it did something else. It's like, okay, like kind of ignore. I guess for me, like I kind of just embrace the chaos. Like sometimes I want to go for a drop kick and I don't hold it long enough, so then I end up going for a pump kick. All right, cool. We're rolling with that now. So then you roll with the pump kick, and then I go and I attack him on the ground or whatever the heck. Um, there's a lot of mechanics that I don't always fully understand how to use them or what the necessary like point of a lot of these mechanics are. With that being said, again, I'm just rolling with the punches and letting the game come to me, and then eventually I'll figure things out as I figure it out. And that's really where I've been finding a lot of the fun, because deep down, this game, I think the core of it, part of it that I think when people get confused about how do they find a 10 out of 10 of this game, is because I don't think people are really like again, if you're expecting a certain type of game, you're probably not going to find that in this game. If you're looking for like smooth, crisp combat, this game isn't going to have it. If you're looking for a deep narrative, this game isn't going to have it. You know, what this game is going to have is a very expansive world with colorful characters. It's very unique. It's all right. To be fair, so it is very unique in a lot of ways, but they are ripping off a lot of other things. Like we're not going to gloss over that, right? There's certain moments in this game where this is just Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. They even have the jumping out of the sky like that killed me when I saw that. Um, the cooking animation is almost identical to how you would be cooking in Breath of the Wild. Again, there's a lot of moments in this game that are just outright ripping from other games. There's when you switch between different characters, because there's like three playable characters. When you switch between your characters, it does the GTA 5 thing where like it zooms out, zooms back in on the other character, and like they have their own separate like quest lines and stuff like that. So like, yes, is this game taking a lot of ideas from other games and reiterating on it? Yes. Could they have spiced it up a little bit more so it's not like egregiously stolen from other games? Yes. But I mean, honestly, this game is very, very impressive. For what it's worth, and I guess we're pretty deep in this review, first impressions, whatever we're doing. For what it's worth, I'm playing this game on base PS5. Visually, it looks a little funky sometimes. People's hair look god awful. There's like Black Cat at one point that looks terrible because of all the fur. Um, it performs well enough. Like I'm not really having a lot of issues with the performance. There are like screen tearing every now and again, stuff like that that is obvious. But again, for a game that's doing so much, I give it the pass. Like it's not the end of I remember Elden Ring didn't perform that well off launch either. Like there's games that man, they're very ambitious. There's a lot of games that are doing a lot. And this game is a very ambitious project with a lot of things to enjoy. I've been having a blast playing the ever loving hell out of this game, and I'm very excited to see how far I can take this game. I don't know if I'll go on to completion, mainly because there is a narrative aspect of like I don't care about the character Cliff. I don't care about the Gray Mains. I don't care about what we're doing really. I kind of just have my own fun, and the objectives open up more ways for me to have fun. Um, so I'm pretty much playing this game until I get bored of it. If I do end up beating it, then that'd be kind of pretty impressive. Um, but ultimately, yeah, like if you one of those people that you hear all these negative things about the game, I highly recommend checking out a bunch of different people viewpoints, because I at this point I've seen it all from this game is the worst thing ever to this is a 10 out of 10. For me personally, I think it is a solid game, well worth the effort. Anyways, with all that, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Like, subscribe, blah blah blah.